Hey, y'all, welcome to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, French candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And hey, guys, guess what? We got ourselves a sexy microphone.
It's so, you have it, Dusty. I think that'll be very clear to listeners, the world around.
So just so people know, I'm not being purposely cruel to Una. An hour before we started recording today.
Oh,
so,
it's like Christmas.
It's really wonderful. We put in for this Kickstarter back in, I want to say, March, and it's been a wonderful wait for that. And so yeah, hopefully this is going to be better on your ears. I thoroughly appreciate that for y'all. I thoroughly appreciate everyone who's let me know that our sound quality is, quote, a little tinny at times. It's honestly way better than I thought we were going to get for recording off my computer microphone for a while.
Genuinely, yeah, through Apple headphones into a Mac Air that I bought off of eBay. So yeah, if the worst is that it's tinny.
I think we've done okay. All right, so we might as well dive in on this because it's part 4 of the Lincoln saga, aka the election of 1860, aka we have Republicans now.
aka R.I.P. WIG.
Poor Whigs.
Oh man, or I guess it's WHIG, right?
WHIG.
God damn it!
I don't know why they decided as Americans to create a new political party based off of a British party after you spent quite some time fighting the British. But look, I'm not gonna argue a dead party.
But that's just it. It's like the whole point is not to. You're not trying to invent the wheel. It's like, well, the wheel is already there. How do we make it a bigger, sexier wheel?
Yeah. How do we get more wigs on this car? So to catch up for everyone, here's what we have so far going into the election. The conventions are done. The Republicans have nominated Abraham Lincoln, and the Republicans do not want to abolish slavery. I cannot make that point as big as possible. What they want is they don't want slavery to expand into the territories. Right. And they want to make sure that the North states have just as much power, if not probably more power than the South. We have Frederick Douglass of the Northern Democrats, because the Democrats went and had a divorce in Charleston and then in Baltimore.
It was an ugly divorce.
It was not good. This is the sort of divorce where, even your stuff gets split in a court of law.
where the arbitration council leaves in tears.
Where the lawyer just says, fuck it, I don't care.
Here's your retainer. Goodbye.
So yeah, on the northern side, you have Stephen Douglas, who believes in popular sovereignty, the idea that the territory should vote on whether or not they want slavery. And on the other side, you have John Breckenridge, a southern man from Kentucky who has enslaved a few people and thoroughly believes in more slavery and everywhere, and go the South. The fourth person, you have a guy named John Bell, a former senator from Tennessee who has enslaved even more people than John Breckenridge, but his party is radical centrism, and boy, is it bad. Because their entire platform is, hey, you know that thing that's tearing this country apart? Let's never talk about it, and we will keep the Union together, and we'll all be quiet and happy.
Oh, it's a Daily Show episode from 2004 that you're watching in 2020. It's awkward, slightly tone deaf, and you just want to go back to it.
Yeah, it's simpler times when you could just be like, hey, this doesn't affect me, right? Fifth, we have Sam Houston, the governor of Texas, who, against his will, has been made the nominee of the People's Party, who also, despite meeting multiple times, still has yet to figure out who his vice president's going to be, and have pretty much moved on from just even attempting to do that.
DBD, that's a name, right?
Yeah.
Those are initials.
Just, why is it X? Why? And finally, you have the Liberty Party, a party that's completely falling apart, but it's also the only political party at the time that believes 100% in abolition. And they are currently being led by a former congressman by the name of Garrett Smith, who has been bedridden for the past 2 years and is completely incapable of doing literally anything.
So not great, Bob.
No, it's not very good if you're, say, far left in the 1860s. Not a great time.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so we're going into the actual election. And we're going to be starting off with a section that I have entitled The Inevitability of Lincoln. Because you see, the other three parties have kind of figured out something really shitty. And there are enough free states alone that if Lincoln won all of them, he would have enough electoral votes to win the presidency. And due to the rise of the Republicans in the North and the schism of the Democrats, this all but guaranteed that Abraham Lincoln would win. So none of the other parties saw a way for them to get the plurality of electoral votes needed to win the nomination. So what do you think they're going to do, Una?
I don't know, Dusty. What are they going to do?
I believe Rocky De La Fuente called this the Rocky plan.
Oh no! Oh no! They're going to Rocky it.
Look, Rocky De La Fuente has been with us always, just like the internet. Hasn't always been online. And so the Constitutional Union parties we talked about in the last episode already had this plan. They knew they had no chance of winning. But after the schism, the Southern Democrats started to realize this as well. And so they all decided they had to make sure that Abraham Lincoln didn't get enough electoral votes because no one else was going to. So this is something that has only ever happened 3 times in American history. In 1800, in 1824 after the very first popular vote, and in 1836 for the vice presidential election, thanks to a bunch of faithless electors from Virginia. I wish it was more interesting than that, but it was essentially a bunch of folks from Virginia did not like the vice presidential nominee. It went to the Senate, and the Senate were like, no, this is the vice president, fuck off.
What? Wait, can we also go back to the popular vote issue?
Yeah, so the popular vote for prior to 1924, and if I'm remembering this right, it was Jackson versus John Quincy Adams. And part of the problem was before that, it was just electors. Only electors went, they voted on who the president was going to be, and that was it. And Andrew Jackson is actually the reason that we have the popular vote, but also why it doesn't mean anything, because people were so scared of Andrew Jackson becoming president via the popular vote, they stuck with the Electoral College. And that worked the first time, and we're probably going to talk about this election because it is a whole world of fuckery, and as much as we've said many times, Andrew Jackson fucking sucks, he got completely goddamn screwed in the 1824 election.
Oh, yeah, since 2016, since 2000, really, in terms of like the importance of the popular vote. Okay. Calm down because we have so much on our plate.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, if we ever want to do like a mini episode ranting about the Electoral College, because this is my dirty secret, Una, I slightly like it.
I am here for your opinion. I need to. It's one of those things where it's always like, I need to learn more about this, and not to sound like an idiot, undecided voter about it, but that's always my vibe.
No, the side you have, it's going to be right. The Electoral College is trash, but there's a part of me that loves the drama.
Oh no!
The theater of the Electoral College. You know, the subscriber package.
Dead.
Yeah, 1924 it happened, and that's
okay.
Exactly why in 1828, that's why Jackson won by such a high margin. That and John Quincy Adams was a shit-ass president.
Okay.
Anyway, fast forward to 1860. So, bit of a fill-in for what happens when the Electoral College doesn't decide a president. So when this happens, the Congress then decides the election. The House votes for the president, and the Senate votes for vice president. Instead of each congressman getting their own vote, though, they all vote as blocks as a state. So for example, if that happened today, then all 53 congresspeople from California would get together, vote on one candidate, and that candidate would get one vote from California. Meanwhile, all one congressperson from Wyoming would do the same and get one vote for Wyoming.
This is madness. We've been gerrymandered into oblivion already. I mean, California can't even, oh my God.
Yeah, it's not great. So I was doing some weird stress math last week. I'm like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? And using current polls, I was able to find a very unlikely version in which Biden and Trump tied. And just out of curiosity, I was like, oh, using this Congress, who would probably win? And it would be Trump by 2 states. But since 1933, it used to be it was the lame duck Congress got to decide who president was going to be, and now it has to be whoever's getting voted in. So, vote.
Vote. It all matters. All of it.
But we're at the time right now where the lame duck Congress is who gets to decide to be president and vice president.
1860, you mean?
Exactly.
Yes, okay.
Also, they are only allowed to vote for the top 3 vote getters in the Electoral College. So if that happened today, then, I'm assuming Jo Jorgensen of the Libertarian Party is going to come in third. But if she doesn't get any Electoral College votes, then she's not going to be considered. But that could also mean like a faithless elector could pick a random person, and all of a sudden that person's going to be the third option.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it could be an utter nightmare.
It could be Rocky De La Fuente.
Oh my God, don't speak such wonderful words to me.
He of the almost American shopping.
I'm so mad about that. The American Shopping Party don't know. They have no clue what they missed out on with this. Look, I get it. Brock Pierce is a rich, fake money person, but Rocky De La Fuente, that man, legally can't own banks. Just
yes. Yes, that is still so much better than what is currently residing in the White House. From a financial...
Rocky's trying to get back into the banking game. He learned
exactly.
And now it's politics forever.
I'm sure legally he is mandated to release his tax statements.
Oh, I'm sure.
Part of some kind of community service.
Every fucking year.
Oh, jeez. All right, 1860.
Yeah, 1860, all right. As we said in the last episode, this was the Constitution Party, Union Party's plan all along. And they only planned to run in the border states, so the northernmost slave states and the southernmost free states, and hoped that if it went to the House, they would be viewed as the only reasonable option between the Republicans and the Southern Democrats. And radical centrism, as always, wins again. The Southern Democrats, though, figured out pretty quickly that this was going to be their best chance as well. They didn't stand a chance in hell of winning any free states outright, but if they won most of the South, then they could be guaranteed a top 3 finish in the Electoral College. And at this point, they viewed their odds as both good and kind of oddly good. So on one hand, they weren't certain that they could get all 17 state bloc votes to win the House outright. But they also didn't think that the Republicans or the constitutional unionists could either. Usually a stalemate like this would just mean more ballots until someone won, but tensions of oncoming war and congressional violence made it seem like any kind of bending to any party seemed pretty improbable. So if the House wasn't able to select anyone, then the VP vote in the Southern suddenly becomes the election for president. And the Southern Dems held a majority in the Senate, which made them very confident that at the end of the whole affair, they would own the presidency with their vice presidential nominee, the senator from Oregon, Joseph Lane. And don't let the Oregon fool you, because Lane was originally from Virginia, and he probably enslaved someone at least until 1878, a solid 13 years after that shit became illegal.
Oh, well, yeah, Oregon's got a bit of a history.
Yeah, I mean, you have Portland, and then everywhere else.
1860.
It was a real gambit for both parties, but not out of the realm of possibility. They would just need Stephen Douglas to be willing to make that same gamble and challenge Lincoln like crazy in the North. However, when asked if he was hoping if the presidency would be decided by Congress, Stephen said, "My God, sir, the election shall never go to the House. Rather than allow that outcome, I shall throw it to Lincoln."
Stevie boy, do you want to win or?
You see, Douglas was so pissed off at Breckenridge and the Southern Dems that for him, the election wasn't so much about defeating Lincoln or winning the presidency for himself. It was about making sure that Breckenridge would never rule the country. And fuck that man. I will ruin him. I will destroy him with all 5'4" of me.
I will give him a death kiss like that Mormon gave me on my rise to power.
Yes.
Is there anything more beautiful than a petty vote?
Oh, we haven't even gotten into pettiness. The
Oh!
theme of the episode: pettiness, fun in the moment, bad in the long term.
Melt it down and slather it over my body. I cannot wait.
So plan B of how to defeat Lincoln: everyone drops out. So this is the one I had the hardest time finding any sort of historical background on. The closest I could find was a memoir from 1899, but it's such an interesting little detail that I just had to include it. So by August, it was seeming more and more likely that Lincoln would win if all 5 major candidates stayed within the race. Well, 4 candidates. Because that month, Sam Houston would drop out of the race and the People's Party would completely disband. Part of the reason was Houston had absolutely no interest in being president to begin with, but the Constitutional Unionists had asked him, and he was like, well, it's probably my duty. And the People's Party just nominated him without even asking, and so he just kind of went along with it for a while.
I'm sure he's very busy inventing the 10-gallon hat, because that's all I can picture him in.
All right, Sam, I'm going to pitch this to you. What about 11?
Take it all the way up to 11 gallons.
This hat goes to 11.
No.
So anyway, yeah, so Sam Houston, he's dropped out. And he ends up endorsing the idea for a unified ticket created by the remaining anti-Lincoln parties dropping out. And it turns out someone else also had the same idea and was already in the process of working with Breckenridge, Bell, and Douglas to get all 3 of them to drop out and endorse a completely brand new candidate that they would all endorse. And that man, of course, is Jefferson Davis.
Who later was just like, wait, you mean I get a second chance in a couple years?
I mean, this man is the literal cockroach of this story. He is a weird C-story character that just keeps showing up at really important moments for some reason.
He's an unflushable turd, and then he just leaps up to become an upper-decker turd, and then, yeah.
So there is no real sign as to who would have been chosen to take the place of the 3 candidates, but it seems like Breckenridge and Bell were all on board. But Douglas told them to fuck clean off. You have fucked me out of my prophecy, and I am going to fuck all of you in return.
If I'm going down, so help me God, I'm taking you with me.
Which leads us to plan C, a fusion ticket. So this is one that kind of confused me, but I think it was something that was more likely back then to happen than it is nowadays. So I'm good. If there are any questions or any bit of confusion, please stop me and ask.
Okay.
So by this point, the parties knew that they would never beat Lincoln in the North as 3 separate entities. So local party members in Pennsylvania pitched an idea where electors from all 3 parties would be assigned to the candidate that they felt was most likely to win the state. Then, if that candidate won, the electors would vote for their preferred candidates instead, all while denying Lincoln any electoral votes. So my general gist of this is that, say, in Pennsylvania, Douglas has the best chance of winning. And Pennsylvania has, I'm probably wrong on this, like 12 electoral votes. So the electors they would nominate 7 Douglas men, 3 Bell men, and then the rest would go to Breckenridge. And if Douglas won, then the electors just vote for whoever the fuck they want, because at this point it doesn't matter.
Wait, so if Douglas won the popular vote, then the electors would just do whatever, or?
Essentially, kind of, yeah. So the shitty thing about America is when you're voting for president, you're not actually voting for president. You're voting for the electors of your state. And so in this regard, you're supposed to put up a slate of electors that guarantee that they will vote for you. So if all 3 of them were on the ticket, they would all list 12 people who would vote specifically for them. But if just Douglas is running, then you kind of pick and choose from the other people.
Oh, yeah, because I think I did this during the primaries.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In Chicago, to figure out, it's like, okay, well, these electors have said that they're for Bernie or Warren or whatever, so pick and choose who your preferred electors, now that we know it's really going to be Biden.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's what's going on here when it comes to a fusion ticket.
Oh, okay.
But there were 2 big blocks to making this work. First, Douglas had no interest in a fusion ticket that would help the Bolters and the Southern Democrats. He has made it very clear repeatedly he is not going to help John fucking Breckenridge. And second, we got to bring him back. The world's best fuck up, James Buchanan.
Buchanan's back, baby?
Oh yeah, Buchanan never left. Because you see, he's in a weird spot right now. You have John Breckenridge, his vice president, and a man he hates. And Stephen Douglas, a senator who he hates even more. And James Buchanan has decided in this moment, one of the most pivotal times in American history, he is going to endorse John Breckenridge, and he is going to fuck Stephen Douglas. So once again, solid James Buchanan plan.
Oh my God. Oh, layer that petty on me.
Oh, it's beautiful. Like, of all of the fuck-ups that James Buchanan had, I'm not entirely sure how much this affected the election, but it definitively didn't help. So even if it meant splitting the Dems permanently, he wanted to make sure that Breckenridge was on the ballot in every single northern state. And he wanted Breckenridge to fucking win and fuck working with Stephen Douglas.
Oh my God. So basically, if back then, if for 1860 you had elections by, if you had like the lawn signs and everything, it would be your like preferred cardinal direction. And then, no, fuck you. That would be 1860.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a visual metaphor for this, it would be James Buchanan on a lawnmower running over Douglas signs and planting Breckenridge signs behind him. All while he doesn't notice his pants leg, it's gotten caught in the blade. Ah, man, I should have been a political cartoonist back then.
The dream. You could explain everything.
Oh, it'd be great. You'd be like, what is this lawnmower? And I would be like, I am from the future, and this is the only way I'm helping you. So, with all these issues going on, Stephen Douglas doesn't want it to happen, James Buchanan doesn't want it to happen, so the Northern and Southern Democrats just ignored both of them. And by election day, fusion tickets existed in Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. But the thing is, the Republicans knew they couldn't just waltz into the election and expect an easy win. That's how you lose. That's how you Cleveland Browns everything. My favorite team.
So you can say it.
Yeah, I'm allowed to say it. I have learned how to deal with loss with expectations and dignity. Well, yeah, but they knew that if they went into this election and didn't actually try, they would lose. But in the 1856 election, they had won 11 of the northern states, and they had more than enough evidence that they could hold on to them based on the results of that election. But if they were to win, they needed those states again, as well as Pennsylvania, and their choice of either Illinois or Indiana. So how did they end up actually winning those states? Plan A. Promise that they had no interest at all in banning slavery as a way to make people less nervous about the South seceding.
Oh, man.
For Republicans, they knew this was the biggest fear of voting for them if you lived in the northern border states, especially in a must-win state like Pennsylvania. It is noted by historian Daniel W. Crofts that Republicans were honestly still kind of confused as to why Southerns were consistently insisting that if Lincoln won, he would immediately abolish slavery.
Oh my God, this was their Second Amendment issue back then.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a thing they 100% believed. But in letters between a lot of the people in the Republican Party who were higher up, they just repeatedly were writing to each other like, why the fuck do people believe this?
Yeah, and then meanwhile, those same people are like, we got to enslave more people because they might take away our enslaved people.
Yeah, Have you heard William Seward? He legitimately uses the N-word on a regular basis at a time when you could and not really get in trouble.
and it's so awkward. That's how much he uses it.
Yeah, they had no interest in it, and yet still throughout the South they were like, if the Republicans get in, we're done. And we have to secede because of that. But Crofts also posits, since they found this idea to be so outlandish, that they viewed the South's threat to secede to be just as far-fetched. Especially once they won, and they viewed this as, especially once they win and they don't immediately abolish slavery, of course the South is going to not secede. They're going to realize that, hey, things are going to be fine. So instead of focusing on slavery as their primary plank, as they had in the past, the Republicans shifted their focus on just the complete fuck-awful job that James Buchanan had done, which proved to be the most favorable political point they chose to use in the North.
Solid work.
A paper in North Carolina, of all places, would also state of the Northerners supportive for Republicans, Northerners could care a broken tobacco pipe for the slavery question, but because they see no other honest management of Washington, they support the Republicans. Which leads us to Plan B. They did the one thing liberals do in every election. Let's get the youths on board.
Yes.
That's right, we're going after the youth vote, motherfucker.
Yeah, put down that broken tobacco pipe, pick up this jewel.
They could carry an uncharged jewel pipe. Now, to be fair, this wasn't a movement started by the higher-ups at the Republican Party, but was a movement that people like Lincoln and Seward really recognized could be huge in helping spread the word of the upstart party. So in March of 1860, a dozen sales clerks in their early 20s formed a group of young Republicans in Hartford, Connecticut. They had grown sick of Democratic hecklers at Republican speaking events and wanting to get other like-minded young men together to escort and support local Republicans. But you also have to remember that in 1860, there really isn't a ton for young folks to do. So this group of dudes decided to extend their activities to marching at night. They would dress in black kepi hats, which are kind of like tall little round hats, and black enamel capes that looked fucking fabulous, and carry around flaming oil lamps on tall staffs, sort of like a tiki torch.
Oh no.
And march with military precision through the streets of Hartford. They did this every night throughout March, and every night, more and more young men would join them. The Democrats
This is walking a line. Let me tell you. The goth kid in me wants to be for it.
So Democrats would have similar marches, but newspapers noted that the black-clad Republicans were so much more fun to watch. They were better at marching. They were better at chanting. They had really bitchin' fireworks. They were a hit, but they needed a name. And so months prior, a Connecticut newspaper had described young Republicans as, quote, wide awake and eager for the impending election. And this is why these young Republicans began calling themselves the Wide Awakes.
Oh, come on.
Look, these are store clerks. They don't have the money for PR agencies.
They're store clerks, which means they're the closest thing to PR back then.
A month after their founding, young men in the other cities began inquiring how to start their own chapter of Wide Awakes. The Hartford chapter would reply, and thanks to their connections to the textile industry, they would also sell official capes for $2 a piece.
Oh, I love a cottage industry.
So the reason that they were enamel capes is when they were carrying around those giant oil lamps, hot oil would drip down, and if you had anything else, it would stain the capes. And so with enamel, it would just drip right off.
Wonderful. I love it. So smart.
So before long, there were chapters all over the North, including 50 chapters in Detroit, 48 in the Chicagoland area, and others in New York City, Cleveland, Columbus, and Bangor, Maine.
I still don't understand what is. It's just like a marchy party, right?
Actually, let me bring up the page that lists what they officially do.
Are we talking like 1860 version of a flash dance?
I mean, it's kind of like a flash mob. It's very internet. It's very...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's, when you're younger, I feel like what you want to do is something difficult and weird over something, potentially easier, but also your primary responsibility.
That's fair.
It's like comparing TikTok and studying. Like, TikTok's not easy if you're working really hard at it. You have to learn editing. You have to figure out how to tell a story in 5 seconds.
You have to learn.
Right, so the Wide Awakes had 6 things. And so each chapter kind of had their own unofficial mission statement, but this one comes from the Chicago chapter. 1, to act as political police. 2, oh no, what's wrong? What's wrong with combining political and police? To do escort duty to all prominent Republican speakers who visit our place and address our citizens. 3, to attend all public meetings in a body and see that order is kept and that the speaker and meeting is not disturbed. 4, to attend the polls and see that justice is done to every legal voter. 5, to conduct themselves in such a manner as to induce all Republicans to join them. And 6, to be a body joined together in large numbers to work for the good of the Republican ticket.
This is some real buttoned up shit. I'm just like,
This is just a bunch of young Republicans marching around, and yeah, it's a public club.
I'm just saying, I think back to like 80 to 88, young Reaganites getting revved up because of this failed actor. And I'm seeing the seeds planted with these, I keep wanting to say White Walkers, wide awakes.
God damn it.
I'm just saying, I'm hearing some wide awakes. I'm not seeing a lot of wokeness.
Not a lot of woke awakes.
Not a lot of woke awakes.
So yeah, but I mean, and this does need a bit of historical context too, because yeah, when you read about it, it sounds very much like, yeah, a bunch of white dudes in polos marching around with tiki torches. Our historical context for this, not very great.
Not great. Not great, Bob.
Michael F. Holt's book probably has one of the best sentences of context for this. He says, quote, street demonstrations and parades by fervent, often rowdy and liquored up partisans had been a feature of American politics since at least 1828. What set the Wide Awakes apart was their sober discipline.
Fuck! Oh, come on!
So this is the first time that people have seen young people marching in the streets for a political cause, and they're not blackout drunk. So it's actually kind of fun to watch instead of standing there being like, all right, this is good, but when is someone going to punch me? Like, who is the guy in the mosh pit here that's nothing but elbows?
It's like when every political get-together has had the resemblance of a more modern-day St. Patrick's Day parade. It must be nice.
It is Chicago St. Patrick's, but you really love James K. Polk. So the other candidates started to follow suit. The Wide Awakes were becoming a fucking fad. People were, dabbing and other things were fleet on yeet. It was fleek on yeet. There we are.
T-box.
Listeners. This is
words.
Yeah. So everyone else started to form their own little marching groups. The Northern Dems had the chloroformers. What for?
Oh no!
Wide Awakes to sleep.
That isn't that what you like soak a rag in before throwing it in someone's face to incapacitate them?
Look, I'm not saying that Stephen Douglas has an electability problem at this point.
I don't think you have to.
The Southern Dems had the Chapultepecs, which was named after a battle in the Mexican-American War that they believed that Breckenridge had fought. But if you remember from the last episode, John Breckenridge got to the Mexican-American War a few months too late. And so he might have been there, probably didn't do a whole lot of fighting, but that's the name of their group, and they're sticking with it.
Looked around Cabo, realized it was really nice.
Look, I'm sure the name of a Mexican city sounds really great in the mouths of Southerners who really love enslavement.
Oh boy.
And then the Constitutional Unionists had the bell ringers, and they were fucking nerds. So what they would do is they would mainly parade around the city, ringing whatever bell they happened to own. Is it a church bell? Is it a cowbell? Is it just like a bowl with a stick on the inside?
Oh my God. Can you imagine being a young mother in a house nearby? I just got this child who may or may not live to adulthood to sleep. I myself have not slept in days, nor can I even participate in what the fuck is going on here. Raged for this woman who may or may not have existed.
So yeah, the surprise. Oh yeah, and the group began to get mocked because radical centrism doesn't exactly inspire the fervor of many people. See Bloomberg, Mike, 2020. But it's also because their name was based on their candidate, John Bell. You get it? I don't picture anyone under the age of 30 in this group. But so the common impression of a bell ringer at the time was you would get your friend to ask a policy question towards you. Like say, hey, do you think the territory should have slavery? And you would respond with, ding dong, support the Constitution, save the Union.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is the kind of thing that comes out of a focus group.
Yeah.
Like people completely out of touch with reality.
We need a chant. We need an idea that's going to keep the Union together. So
we just need
too outlandish, but nothing too, childish. We need something.
Just make sure we bring it back to our talking points as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Remember, our candidate's name is John Bell. Our platform is non-existent. Go.
Ding dong.
Save the Constitution. Save the Union. But you know what modern day parallel is missing? accusing a group of young liberals of crimes that they didn't commit. That's right, I'm going to call the Wide Awakes the Civil War Antifa. So it turns out Texas Senator and American Commedia dell'arte character named Louis T. Wigfall began accusing Wide Awakes of committing a string of arsons that had been happening in Texas. This also occurred about the same time as what was called the Texas Troubles, a period in 1860 in which hysteria over fictional revolts of enslaved peoples in the state were occurring, and this ended up leading to the hanging of 30 to 100 enslaved people and suspected abolitionists. They were not happening, but the rumor mill was going around. And so the South absolutely fucking feared the Wide Awakes and viewed them as Lincoln's own private abolitionist army.
My God, I am so uncomfortable with the parallels.
It's not great.
It's not a good look.
So the Richmond Enquirer described the Wide Awakes as men who, quote, parade at midnight, carry rails to break open our doors, torch to fire our dwellings, and beneath their long black capes, the knife to cut our throats.
Okay, no.
Look, all I'm saying is Antifa is starting fires, and I don't know.
So which one of these bell ringers is QAnon in our parallel?
John Q. Bellman.
Oh no.
Save the Constitution. They're gonna cut your throats. So fearing that the Wide Awakes would attack the South, a mirror organization formed in the slave states called the Minutemen, who were more interested in actually being a militia-type group dedicated to protecting the South from the rumors the South made up.
Yeah.
So these two groups would never really meet until the Civil War actually started, and that's mostly because, weirdly enough, the South wasn't entirely wrong about the Wide Awakes becoming an army. Since they operated as military units and gave each other titles such as Major and General and Corporal, I think. Is Corporal a new one or an old one? Either which way. They gave themselves military titles within their chapter groups. They were also trained in marching, so they had a leg up on every other non-military Northerner prior to the Civil War. So when the war began, many Wide Awake chapters enlisted and all served together.
Oh my God. Wait. Why did they need to give themselves the colonel names and all that? What?
Because it was, I mean, they kind of looked like military people. The hat they had looked like a military cap. The capes made it look like they were, generals of gentlemanly rankage, I suppose. But yeah, they had a very military look. And when they marched, they had a military style. One I read is that they would try to come up with new and weird marches. One was essentially like a zigzag pattern that they would do. Because, the internet's always existed.
Another one was the nene.
God damn it.
But this is...
Yeah, and so they essentially were like a pseudo-military group.
I just want the recognition that role-playing has always existed in our society, and it always will, and it can be for good or it can be for evil. But it's a necessary outlet.
Yeah, look, you're in your 20s, life sucks, you want to play pretend.
Halloween has not been invented yet.
Excellent point. But for the time being, the Wide Awakes became an incredibly important way for the Republicans to muster the youth vote in their favor. So when people are kind of taught about this election, it's kind of taught in a way of saying, well, it's the North, people voting in the North versus people voting in the South. So in the North, it's Lincoln versus Douglas. In the South, it's Breckenridge versus Bell. And that's not 100% the truth. It is kind of an easier way to talk about it if, you're in public school and you have an hour to teach everyone about this.
Yeah.
But we're going to go a little bit deeper as to things that were going on. And so we will talk a bit about Bell versus Breckenridge. So the supporters of these two kind of went about the entire campaign maligning each other in justifiable and very weird ways. The big hit on the constitutional unionists in the South was that they not only refused to even talk about slavery, but their platform was so empty of any policy, there was pretty much just a paragraph of nothing. They would go so far as to say that they didn't need a platform because all they supported was in the Constitution, and their only plank was keeping the Union together.
Yeah, Constitution is our plank.
Yeah, they're
read it.
Party. And kind of sort of the libertarians.
Yeah.
So this stance would lead a pro-Breckenridge newspaper to state, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, that Bell must think the American people are stupid if he thinks he can get away with just ignoring the existence of slavery. If he is serious about being president, then he has to recognize that slavery is something that has to be decided pretty much immediately. And I am paraphrasing, but the newspaper did call him stupid.
Amazing.
So there was also a weird fight as to which man was more Southern than the other.
Oh, I'm here for it.
So on one hand, people knew that John Bell had enslaved tons of people. But John Breckenridge, he's only enslaved very few, like 5 at most.
Is he even a man?
So few, in fact, that some began to spread a rumor that John Breckenridge had never actually enslaved anyone at all, that he was actually paying free persons of color to work for him. And if he wasn't enslaving people like John Bell is, then how could he possibly be the best person to protect the South?
Oh my God. Also, can we see his birth certificate?
I want to see his certificate of sales.
But like, yeah.
So the rumor on Bell, though, was that the hundreds of people that he had enslaved, he didn't actually own. Those are actually his wife's enslaved peoples. And if Bell actually wasn't the person in ownership, then how could he possibly understand what it's like to actually run that kind of business? And so clearly, he's a fraud, and John Breckenridge is obviously the bannerman for the South.
It's like, and you think you've heard rock bottom, and then another shovel appears.
There's never a rock bottom. I don't know why people assume there is. Technically, you could keep digging through Earth, and you're just consistently finding deeper places to go.
Get to magma, see if I care.
But then this leads us to Douglas versus everyone.
Yes!
Stephen Douglas had a very tall task ahead of him. His party split. The North is completely disinterested in Democrats, thanks to Breckenridge and Buchanan. He knew that if he was to reclaim the mantle of the Democratic Party, he would have to do something extreme. He would have to personally campaign.
A gentleman? Personally campaign?
Who? So while nowadays personally campaigning is a full-on requirement if you're running for president, but that was viewed as Michael F. Holt put it, gross and disqualifying.
Amazing. Well, I get Iowa had not been invented yet, so there was no way to just strap into an enormous turkey leg.
Oh my God! Now I want a turkey leg. Let's run for president so we can get turkey legs.
It's a terrible idea.
I'm gonna John Kasich this.
Oh.
So this kind of naked ambition played horribly with the population, but Douglas felt it was the only way for him to break through with folks of the North and Democrats of the South. Initially, he disguised his campaign tour as, quote, visiting his aged mother in upstate New York, then attending his second wife's younger brother's graduation at Harvard, and paying homage to his father's gravesite in Vermont.
I would love that to be today's campaigning tactics. Like, I have a cousin in Tucson, so I'm just gonna head there for a week.
Yeah, just constant, just like, oh, I didn't see you there, populace. Here, I might as well just give you a speech of all of my platforms that I've never done before.
No, I'm just dropping off my niece's cousin at Duke. Just in the neighborhood.
I guess while I'm here, I'll talk to all you fucking idiots. But the thing is, no one bought it for a fucking second. Because, yeah, you could probably get away with that once, but once it becomes a pattern, people kind of start to write about it.
And then when you start painting slogans on your train carriage, it just gets garish.
I know newspapers would note that in his speeches, he was rarely ever critical of Lincoln and was constantly attacking Breckenridge and James Buchanan.
Yes, keep your eyes on the prize.
One reporter stated, quote, Douglas cares nothing about his own personal success and comparatively little for the success of the Democratic Party as it stands at present, but he intends to crush out utterly and forever the disunion party, if it is in his power to do so. Douglas would end up taking a speaking tour to the South where he did a real good job of just pissing off everyone.
Amazing.
In Norfolk, Virginia, Douglas was presented with a pair of questions from a Breckenridge supporter. The questions were, should the South secede if Lincoln wins? And if they secede, should Lincoln be allowed to send in federal troops to force the South to stay in the Union?
It's a very prescient question.
I mean, really good questions, yeah.
Way to call on Cassandra.
Very good questions. Douglas emphatically answered no to the first and yes to the second, which elicited multiple groans from the audience. This became known as his Norfolk Doctrine and made its way through the South and made him extremely unpopular and completely unelectable.
Oh my God.
But Douglas never changed his stance throughout the rest of his Southern speaking tour. He even escalated a bit by stating he would hang every secessionist for treason if it happened while he was president.
These are your voters. This is a Democratic Party.
Hello, everyone in the audience. I just want you to know I am going to hang you.
So help me God, I cannot get the tone of that Mormon's voice out of my head, and you are refusing his divine right to me.
At a speaking stop in Baltimore, Douglas made another statement that you really won't hear from a lot of major candidates. Quote, I am not seeking the presidency. My object is to preserve the Union by pointing out what, in my opinion, is the only way in which it can be saved.
No, dude, like, No.
You will win me the presidency.
I'm assuming campaign managers had not been invented at this point.
By this point, he genuinely meant it. He was done. He knew he had no chance of winning. And if it was a choice between Lincoln being president and Breckenridge succeeding in any way, shape, or form, he was going to help Lincoln win.
I'll say this now, as a stubborn woman, I'm very attracted to this level of hate. I find there's something very erotic in like this amount of self-ownership.
So by the middle of his campaign, where he had gone out and campaigned in person like a complete trash person, Douglas was just done. He never dropped out of the race, but became a form of proxy for Lincoln by removing himself as Lincoln's main competition in the North. After this, it would be up to the Constitutional Unionists to sway enough votes in Pennsylvania to win and push the election to Congress. But in the end, we all know what happened.
We do.
And weirdly enough, by October, everyone else knew what was going to happen. Because weirdly enough, at the time, there were a number of states that didn't have their gubernatorial elections in November, but they had them the month before Election Day. So particularly, there were two races in Indiana and Pennsylvania, and in both the Republicans won. Pennsylvania was viewed as the hardest race for governor since they had nominated a complete horse's ass by the name of Andrew Curtin, who was notable for pissing off multiple people at any speaking engagement he participated in. And in a state where John Fremont had only gained 37% of the vote, and might I add, also James Buchanan's home fucking state, Andrew Curtin would end up winning the governorship with 53% of the vote.
Damn.
So it was crystal clear. The Republicans had won the North. They were going to win Pennsylvania. They were going to win Indiana. It was pretty much a done deal. And in November, this would be finalized. Finishing last would be Stephen Douglas. He would only win Missouri outright, but he also got 3 electoral votes from New Jersey on a fusion ticket. The man that Joseph Smith had prophesied only got 12 electoral votes. Despite this, Douglas would finish second in the popular vote.
What?
Next would be John Bell, who was only able to swing Kentucky, his former state of Tennessee, and Virginia, netting him 39 electoral votes. Breckenridge would finish second, taking the whole of the South with 72 electoral votes. And on top, with 180 and winning every single northern state, was Abraham fucking Lincoln. Now, as American school students, we all know what happened to Lincoln. Civil War happened. He'd win re-election. He'd abolish slavery. The North won the Civil War. And 6 days after the end of the war, Abraham Lincoln would be assassinated. What the fuck happened to everyone else?
Excellent question.
They all lived long and fruitful lives that were not full of tragedy. That's a full fucking lie. After finishing both last and second place, Stephen Douglas would return to the Senate and tried like hell to keep the Union together. He supported the Crittenden Compromise, which would have made the Missouri Compromise a part of the Constitution. He supported the annexation of Mexico as a slave territory just to appease the South, but both pitches would be completely shot down. His final attempt to prevent civil war was during the Peace Conference of 1861. Former President John Tyler had called for the North and South to come together to try one last time to compromise and find a way to avert war. The conference was pretty much doomed from the start, seeing as 7 states had already voted to secede. Only 14 free states and 7 slave states had sent any delegates. But it went forward anyway. In total, there were 131 delegates, of which there were 6 former cabinet members, 19 former governors, 14 former senators, 50 former congressmen, and 12 are current state Supreme Court justices, and Tyler represented the 1 former president in attendance. Douglas would end up meeting with Lincoln and request that he take part, but Lincoln would decline. Douglas, however, would note that their conversation on the matter was, quote, peculiarly pleasant. This seems to mark the moment that Douglas and Lincoln stopped being rivals and actually started to become friends.
Oh, colleagues.
After 3 weeks of hard work, the delegates presented pretty much the exact same thing as the Crittenden Compromise all over again.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
But with some extra stuff thrown in, so it's not a complete waste of 3 weeks.
How was your camp, guys?
The things they added were prohibition on abolition where slavery already existed, a prohibition on states weakening the Fugitive Slave Act, a permanent ban on reopening the transatlantic slave trade, and 100% compensation to anyone who lost their enslaved person due to illegal mob action. And this was based entirely on the John Brown raid at Harper's Ferry.
Oh, God.
Really a lot of stuff that would have been...
Yeah.
The plan was presented to the Senate at nearly the last minute and was quickly voted down 28-7. A second peace conference was proposed for the summer, but it would end up being canceled due to the attack on Fort Sumter and the start of the war.
Bum, 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 bum.
When the war began, Lincoln would call on Douglas to meet with him and review his official proclamation of war. Douglas would end up endorsing it, and his only recommendation that he would change was to increase the number of requested troops from 75,000 to 200,000. Douglas would return to Illinois to rally his constituents for the Union, but 1 month later after returning home, he would contract typhoid fever. And on June 3rd, 1861, Stephen Douglas would die at the age of 48.
Still, using his last breath to say, "Fuck you, Breckenridge."
I'm going to cough in an envelope, mail it to him.
Oh God.
Fun little bit of trivia. Stephen Douglas died on the day that the first ever skirmish of the Civil War happened. The War of Philippi, I believe, or Philippa.
Oh,
Either which way, weird day to die.
his soul was connected to the Union, and once there was civil war, it could not exist.
Oh my God. Stephen Douglas's heart cannot stand divided. Which sends us to John Bell, our favorite third place finisher of pure centrism.
Ring-a-ling.
So John Bell would meet with Lincoln and be assured that Lincoln had no interest in using force against the South. Satisfied with this, Bell would return home to Tennessee and continue his support of the Union. However, after the attack on Fort Sumter, Bell would somehow get the opinion that Lincoln had lied to him. John shifted his opinion immediately and encouraged the state of Tennessee to raise an army in case of federal troops attack. He also proclaimed that they should immediately join the Confederacy.
This guy needs to stop reading the comments section like it's still the article.
Ye old comment section.
Lincoln's a liar.
Like, yeah, what do you expect him to do? The South attacked a fort. He's not just going to be like, well, I promised John.
Dude, you started it.
So the constitutional unionists were immediately furious with John Bell. There's a lot of goodnesses lobbed Bell's way, but my personal favorite comes from newspaper editor William Brownlow, who called John Bell the officiating priest at the altar of the false god of disunion.
Oh, damn.
Bell would begin a speaking tour through the state to try to sway his former unionist comrades to the side of secession. In Knoxville, he would give a speech, then follow it up by walking across the street to a law office where a whole bunch of his old friends were hanging out. Present was attorney Oliver Perry Temple, a decades-long supporter of Bell, who had also named one of his own sons after John Bell.
That's a little weird.
The initial interaction as follows. Quote, Mr. Bell said, in a half-sad, half-complaining tone, I see that none of my old friends were over to hear me speak. No, said Mr. Brownlow, we were not present and did not intend being. We did not wish to witness the spectacle of your being surrounded by your enemies, who a few months ago were denouncing you as a traitor. We did not wish to hear these men shouting for you and see you in such a position. Mr. Brownlow then poured forth a torrent of abuse and denunciation of secession. Mr. Bell made no attempt to defend them, nor indeed to defend his own course. After much arguing, Bell and his friends would part in tears, never to meet again.
Oh, a broken bromance.
Temple would assume that Bell's sudden switch was more of a moment of panic. But we do have to remember that John Bell enslaved people, and that alone may have been more than enough for him to suddenly abandon the Union.
A little bit.
John Bell would remove himself from the public view and led a fairly boring life thereafter. He would eventually settle into running his family's ironworks and would die in 1869 at the age of 73.
Oh, it's a ripe old age.
And then there's John Breckenridge. Oh, John Breckenridge, you and your post-election life.
Did he? But there is a city in Colorado called Breckenridge, right?
Yeah, there are many cities and counties named after John Breckenridge.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Lay it on me.
So I want to set this up by reminding people of John Breckenridge that he lived a life of privilege, tragedy, tried to intervene multiple times, but there was always a golden safety net to catch him with his newest job and his newest adventure. Just like everything else in his fucking life, John may have lost the presidency, but he was awarded with a position of senator via the Kentucky State Congress. So the moment he was done being vice president, he got to walk right across the street and be senator of Kentucky.
Fuck this guy.
And Breckenridge, like Douglas, also worked to try to avoid the Civil War. He would support the failed Crittenden Compromise. He'd try to get Lincoln to pull federal troops from the 7 Confederate states just to try to calm everyone down. And he would propose his own peace conference just for border states. But just like everything else, it all fell apart after Fort Sumter. Following the attack, John was asked to be part of a commission in Kentucky to decide whether the state would stay in the Union or secede. The commission chose neutrality. It was mainly because they picked 3 Unionists and 3 secessionists, and huge surprise, they couldn't come to a conclusion.
For fuck's sake.
So, Kentucky, kind of sort of its own nation right now. Sort of.
Good job, Kentucky.
But they did recommend that they should probably build up some state troops just to be safe. However, this would all change a few months later when a special election would turn the Kentucky House into a very pro-Union group. Suddenly, Breckenridge was viewed as nothing more than a traitor. But he didn't back down from his pro-Confederacy ways. He became very outspoken against Lincoln's build-up to war, and when asked what he would have done instead, he said he would just allow the Confederacy to leave and just avoid war altogether. He would later state that if Kentucky sided with the Union, that he would resign as senator. By September of 1861, Kentucky was still technically neutral in the whole war, which led them to being invaded by both the Confederacy and the Union.
You played yourself, Kentucky.
This was never going to work, guys. So as the Union started to take most of the state, Breckenridge got word that Union forces were intent on finding and arresting him. So he banded together with a bunch of Confederates and fucked off to Virginia, abandoning his family.
Breckenridge!
The Kentucky legislature demanded that John immediately resign, to which he wrote that the Union didn't exist, and that, quote, I exchange with proud satisfaction a term of 6 years in the Senate of the United States for the musket of a soldier. And he was then expelled from the U.S. Senate.
Yeah, from the real country.
But hey, it's not a John Breckenridge time unless he's given something completely out of nowhere at his moment of need. So it makes perfect sense that he was then made a brigadier general in the Confederate Army and given command of the 1st Kentucky Brigade.
I hope he got paid in Confederate dollars.
Oh, of course he did. What else? And fun fact, the 1st Kentucky Brigade was known as the Orphans Brigade because everyone in it were people who used to live in Kentucky but had to leave because it was a Union state now.
Oh my God. Left their family.
So in 1862, Breckenridge's force would take part in the Battle of Shiloh, where 28% of his soldiers would be killed or wounded. The Union would be awarded the battle, but his performance got John promoted to Major General. In total, John would lead his men into at least 14 battles, and eventually would head the Department of East Tennessee and West Virginia by 1864. In 1865, he would rise once again, this time by becoming Jefferson Davis's 5th Secretary of War. However, by this point, being Secretary of War was kind of like being the guy who was Chancellor after Hitler.
Oh no.
You see, things were not going very well for the South. And from this new vantage point, Breckenridge could see that the war effort was completely hopeless. And instead of planning new battles and new armaments, he pretty much started preparing surrender. By April of that year, Breckenridge had abandoned the Confederate capital of Richmond along with everyone else in government and began escaping south. From Richmond to Abbeville, South Carolina, he worked his ass off to try to convince Jefferson Davis to end the war and maybe dissolve the Confederacy while you're at it. And on May 5th, Davis would see reason and finally dissolve the Confederacy. Breckenridge then began an escape out of the country with a military aide, a personal assistant, his son Cable, and a former captain of the Confederate Navy. The plan was formed that they would all escape to the Bahamas, which was a problem, since his son Cable was allergic to mosquitoes. So
Stop.
just turned himself in to the nearest Union force, and they left him for the Bahamas.
He left his son?
I mean, his son was grown, but yeah, he's abandoned his whole family at this point.
It was like choice between Argentina post World War II level, like neutrality, or my family.
He's getting the fuck out.
He's piecing out hard. There's no chivalry.
So to get to the Bahamas, they'd first have to get to Florida. And then they had to steal a boat, which they did. But it was more of like a lifeboat. So they started rowing to the Bahamas, which was less than ideal. So they then hijacked a bigger boat.
Who is this man? This is insane.
Kind of a pirate at this point?
Yeah.
Not 100%, because when they took the bigger boat, they gave the people on the bigger boat the lifeboat. They gave them back their weapons and gave them $20 in Confederate gold. So anyway, now they have a bigger boat. But you know what? We have a bigger boat now. So why don't we just go to Cuba instead?
Oh my God.
So after surviving pirates and at least 2 different storms, they made it to Cuba, where Breckenridge was spotted immediately by someone he knew, who then helped him out and got him food and shelter. And can nothing permanently bad ever happen to this guy? Please, something. I would like something bad to happen to John Breckenridge.
His life story sounds like if you took the hero's journey, but turned it into a fucked up record. So it kept skipping. So he never learned a life lesson. Like it never actually completed a full rotation.
And everything's fine. Everything's good. Wait, the answer to that question is no. Nothing bad's ever going to happen to this guy. So already just settle in. Nothing bad's going to happen to John Breckenridge. I am so sorry. Because he was then offered a free house in Havana, and he turned it down to travel to Great Britain. Just like multiple positions he was offered in his youth, he turned down a free house in Havana, Cuba.
To go to Great Britain, where they had abolished slavery years before we did?
Yeah, well, I mean, it turns out apparently a lot of Confederates went to Great Britain as well.
This is fascinating. Okay.
So yeah, so he would end up going to Britain. And once again, this would work out because a number of Confederates had moved there, and they were able to get him in contact with his family, who had all escaped to Toronto on their fucking own, John, without your help, Jonathan.
Oh my God.
So
the family's like, new letter, who dis?
Look, I have a new husband. He gets me maple syrup in the morning. He's the man who invented hockey, John.
He looks good in flannel and can speak some French.
You can grow a beard that doesn't look like you threw it through a cotton gin, Jonathan. So after finding out that his family was in Toronto, he'd charter a boat, go to Canada, and be reunited with his family. But shortly thereafter, John's wife started to get ill, and her doctor recommended going to Europe.
Yes.
You got typhoid, go to Europe about it. It's so
taking the airs.
entire family, with the exception of, like, if I remember right, they left behind like 2 young kids for some reason to like go to private school in Canada. So most of the family goes to Europe. The children are going to school in Paris, in Versailles, in Switzerland. And then the rest of the family would go off on this huge trip. Actually, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. John alone would go on his own.
I can't with this man. I can't with him anymore. Or the fact that anywhere he goes, he runs into like a frat brother who's all like, "Be rich, what's up? Do you need a place to bunk?"
Dude, it's been a real bummer. My wife's got like cholera or some shit. I just want to do fucking Jello shots.
It's like do shrooms and French women.
So yeah, so John would abandon his wife once again as she recuperated in Paris, which I'm sure is at a nice place.
I'm sure it was fine.
Would end up going on a 2-year trip through Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. And during this time, he'd meet the Pope.
If there was anyone who needed to find himself less than John Breckenridge, I look forward to hearing about him and seething.
It baffles me that he went to North Africa because I feel like he couldn't have a normal conversation there.
No!
What do you do in America? And he'd have to be like, oh, I'm from Massachusetts, and I'm from Canada.
Can't that part of North America. I'm from that America.
So by 1868, the whole family would return to Niagara, Canada, just in time for President Andrew Johnson to declare an across-the-board pardon for all former Confederate soldiers and politicians. And the family would pack up and immediately return to Kentucky. Once there, John would work as a lawyer, an insurance guy, kind of as a railroad guy. This is actually the one time in life that he would fail. So he was trying to get a railroad between, if I'm remembering right, Louisville and Mount Sterling, Kentucky, and it ended up not working out. So it was like, kind of a little embarrassing.
That's it. But that's it.
Yeah, everything else was fine. Just, he's not good at railroads.
Livid. I am livid. And then why are there so many cities named Breckenridge? This is bullshit.
It's important before you turn 50 to find the one thing you can't do.
God damn it.
So after all of this work, in 1873, John finally began to fall into bad health. And 2 years later, it seemed that he found the source. It ended up being a combination of cirrhosis, and one of his lungs was 2/3 full of liquid.
Ooh.
2 weeks after this diagnosis, and after the doctors attempted to drain his lung, John would die at the age of 54. Living a full life of no consequences.
A full fucking life that could have included a free house in Havana after escaping the Confederacy.
It's madness. And yeah, and so this ends the story of the 1860 election. I would say the weirdest, or the last at least extremely weird election America had. Multiple parties, thoroughly interesting people, just a ton of young lawyers making...
Yeah, a problem built into the very fabric of America no one wants to touch.
Yeah. So I believe, as tradition guides us, this leads us to Fuck, Marry, Banish.
Oh my God! Wait, so who are the top 3? Who are we going with?
Let's go with the top 4. Let's go with Lincoln, Douglas, Breckenridge, Bell.
Oof. All right. I think for me, it's going to be obviously banish Breckenridge so he experiences some hardship that maybe builds a bit of character and teaches him to respect and love his wife. Also, I'm just gonna banish Bell right off because
we have to figure out what to do with Bell.
Yeah, and I'm like the idea of people just running amok with bells for a political reason is untenable. I think it's gonna be fuck Douglas because again, the passion and the pettiness. I think there's something there, and then marry Lincoln because he would be some stability.
I mean, I think I'm 1 for 3 on that. I absolutely agree. Banish Breckenridge with the stipulation that you get to pick where.
Ooh, yes.
I want to know where all of his friends are. I want a complete fucking list, John. And if you lie to me, I will find out.
Yeah, I will find you.
Live with you in a terrible roommate situation. I think I would fuck Lincoln because there's a lot of tragedy around that man, and Mary Todd did not have a great time married to him.
That's fair.
So I think I'd want to avoid that.
That's fair.
And I think I'd marry Douglas because he seems like he would be such a fun dude that after you both got off work, you would just, open a bottle of whiskey, bitch about everyone, and then have a lovely last hour before bed.
What you're describing sounds beautiful. I'm on board. I'm so on board. You're right. Yeah, you like 25 years into that marriage, you would still meet up somewhere for happy hour drinks, like you were newly dating.
Oh my God, yeah, it'd be pretty wonderful. And you could pick him up, which is great both for flirting and fights.
It's a twofer.
Look, Steve, I know you want to debate right now, but my counterpoint is I'll pick you up.
Flip.
Can't debate me when I'm lifting you. Anyway, yeah, I hope you all had a really fun time going really deep in the paint in American history. This is
beautiful, necessary, and again, the parallels wake me from my slumber.
Yeah, especially reading through all of this, it was very disconcerting seeing how many things we're dealing with now.
Yeah, this is great. I feel like I'm in ninth grade again, getting the education I finally deserve.
That's awesome. Well, and once again, a lot of props to Michael F. Holt's book, The Election of 1860, An Election Fraught with Consequences. If you want to pick it up, it's not that expensive. It's a real solid book, especially if you want to learn a lot more about this and have some just more funny sentences. The dude has a great way with words.
Gadfly recommendation. Start a book club.
Well, thank you for coming by. See you next week. Ding dong. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.